What does STAR stand for? Stay tuned because in this video, I am going to answer that and give you examples on how to answer those interview questions in the STAR format. Welcome to Fly with Liz. My name is Liz, and if you haven't done so already, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below and give me a like. It definitely helps my YouTube algorithms, and I am forever grateful for that. Today, we're going to discuss what is the STAR format and how do you answer questions when you're going in for that flight attendant interview in the STAR format so that you can pass your interview, whether it be virtual or in person, for that flight attendant interview or any interview you're going for amazingly and really impress the interviewer with the way you answer and handle yourself during your interview. So let's get started. STAR, which is super easy to remember. The S stands for situation, T is task, A is action, and R is result. So STAR. So every time you're answering an interview question for your flight attendant position, answer it in the STAR format. What does that mean? How do you do that, you ask? All right, let me tell you. So situation is where and when did your story that you're going to tell happen? For example, did it happen in a restaurant? Were you a server? Were you a cook? Did it happen at a school? Were you an elementary teacher? Did it happen at the dog groomers? Were you a dog groomer and you were working with a customer? Or were you a hairdresser and you were working with a client? So where did it happen and what position, what role did you have in that? That's the situation. You're setting the scene. Think of it in as a movie or a book. You're setting the scene so the person listening to you can put themselves there, know what your role was. So that's important because you could be a manager, you could be a server, you could be a teacher, you could be doing all different things. So giving the location doesn't give enough information. You definitely want to tell them what your role was. So situation, where was it and what was your role in that situation? The next letter is A. A, nope. That's not the next letter in STAR. The next letter is T. Let's start with T. The task, what did you have to do? What was the problem? What was the situation? What was the goal? What were you trying to do? So an example of a task is if you're at a restaurant and you're a server, you're trying to get somebody the meal that they want. Did they have a birthday? Were they celebrating? Did they have to get to a play or a concert on time? What was the task? Why was it different than a normal task, or was it just the same, but what was the task? If you are a teacher, were you trying to teach a lesson plan? If you are a hairdresser, were you trying to cut somebody's hair a certain way? Or if you worked at an office and you were answering phones, were you saying something different because it was the holiday or people were calling in? So what was the task assigned to you? S is for the situation. Where was it? Where did the story you're about to tell happen? And what was your role in that story? T is for task. What task? What needed to be performed? Was there a problem? What was actually going on that you needed to solve or fix or do to make the situation happy, to make the guests happy, to make the situation flow the way you needed it to, the way your managers needed it to. So what was the task that you were placed with? A is for action, so STA. A is for action. What action did you take based on what responsibilities you had? Did you solve the problem? How did you solve the problem? What did you do? What was different than what you would normally do to get it solved, to get the situation solved? Was somebody unhappy? Did you have to go out of your way to make them happy? Could you give them a little discount? Did you need to, if you were at a restaurant, did you need to reorder their food because it came out improperly cooked? If you were a teacher and a child wasn't learning the lesson that you needed to, did you need to teach it in a different way? Did you use hairdresser? Again, I'm using some of the same examples so you can see how there's different situations. There's so many you can come up with based on your experience and what customer service background you have. But if you were a hairdresser, did somebody come in, maybe they went to another hairdresser and their hair is messed up. So the task was to fix the haircut from another hairdresser. So what action did you take? How did you make them feel comfortable? What did you do in that situation to get them to be happy? And then R, STAR. R is the result. After you did the action, what was the result? Was the guest happy? Were they able to get to the place that they were going on time? Was their hair fixed maybe for a wedding because it came in messed up, the hairdresser before you messed it up and they needed it fixed? So you took an action and you did whatever you needed to do. And then the result is the guest was super happy, the client was super happy. Or what was the result? Did they get to where they were going on time because you did XYZ that sped up the process? So STAR, situation, task, action, and result. When you're going in for the flight attendant interview, when you're doing virtual interviews online, that is a great, actually any kind of interview, it's a really good skill to answer questions. One, it helps you not to ramble. I got to tell you, when you are nervous and you're going in for those interview questions, it helps you not to ramble and elaborate and not know when the story begins and when the story ends and talk for 15 minutes. The interviewer wants to know you're concise, you can communicate well, you can tell a story, and that you understand start to finish and how things go about. So they want to see all of your skills put into one so that communication's a really big deal. So they want to make sure that you can communicate with them and tell them a story, because when you're in the customer service field and when you're dealing with guests and as a flight attendant, you need to be able to do that with the guests. So they want to make sure you're able to do that and you're not going on for 15 minutes. Time is also limited when you have lots of customers. So they want to make sure you're very concise and that you can communicate well. And that's what they're looking for. So STAR, answering your questions, answering the interview questions in the STAR format helps your interviewer see that you can do that. You can be concise, you can be specific, you can explain a situation, you understand that there's actions to take, you can explain what you did differently, you can also explain the result, what you were trying to do, what the problem was, what result it was. It's just a great way to do it, and it also cuts down on your time. So if you want to think of a bonus for yourself, you won't be talking as long because you're not just rambling and babbling during an interview. You are very confident and you know how to answer the interview questions. So good luck with those interviews.